everyone, welcome to this class. We're going to paint this leopard's eye, and I purposely chose something more cropped like this so we can just focus on the eye with an option of adding some fur around it. So instead of painting actually the tiger or a full leopard, I just wanted to focus on a smaller section so it's a little easier to for you to understand like the layering and how I go about the eye specifically. So I'm going to wet the eye, and I'm going to use this Songbird. It's a long coil size 2, my own line, and I'm going over these lids too, so the bottom part. I'm using a larger brush so I can do this faster, just to wet it. And I can go over here too. Doesn't bother me at all, because this is all going to be darker anyway. I'm going to actually use this round 8 golden 1 brush. It's my own line too. And I'm going to start with those yellowish undertones. So there's my raw sienna. I'm just grabbing a little bit of that raw sienna. I'm trying to grab actually thicker paint, but my brush is wet, which is fine. This is just more like a half and half like ratio. I just want to add with the tip of my brush a little bit of those yellow undertones. Plus this is where we have these lashes too. So it's nice to have that kind of yellow tone in there. And this is the part of the iris. So I'm just dragging the brush, not refilling it with this color, just to have that undertone, the yellow undertone. So I just cleaned it, and now I'm going to grab this blue. So there's my manganese blue nova. I grabbed some water actually here because I need water. And there's my phthalo blue, manganese, maybe some of that cobalt green. And whatever I see that blue, actually more of the phthalo blue and manganese, but whatever I can see that blue, that's where I'm applying it. So this is all that area where we have the blue undertone or blue tones. This is not just undertone, this is a color of the iris. So more of the phthalo blue if I need phthalo blue. So it's like I'm going back and forth between the two colors, and it's just mostly the manganese blue nova and phthalo blue red shade. And you want to grab heavy cream or even cream top like ratio. This is all wet, so paint is spreading. A little bit is okay, so you want to have like that control. And then if you want more of that, and just a little bit of that here. Now I'm gonna place a little bit of a color, and then I'm gonna come back to it. Here, this feels more like the quin red, like, so I'm just going through it. So more like a blue violet. This part is more like a blue violet, and I just grab more of the manganese as well, but I just need cobalt or phthalo blue and quin red. The blues, yeah, something like this. And when you place this blue, so the phthalo blue and quin red, you don't need to cover the whole area, because like you see, I'm not adding it here, for example, because that's where I have the highlights. So I'm avoiding the lightest areas. This is the stage when the paper is almost dry, right? Well, it's not dry yet, but the shine is going away. What I could do is add a little bit of that raw sienna here, just where we have these lashes, just to add a little more of that color. So we have that color when we start adding the darks. Plus we're gonna have the white lashes. We might have to color them a little bit. And then I can grab a little bit of that raw sienna. So quinacridone red, there's phthalo blue, quin red, and some of that, I think this is my indigo. Actually, no, this is not indigo. This is my indigo. And I'm just gonna grab that together with the quin red and phthalo blue. I didn't spend too much time on mixing these colors together because that's not that important. Just want to add this line here. It's always nice to, like, when we can, walk away from a painting when we can see a little more like coming together, right? So more of that heavy cream-like ratio. Now we have a highlight here, so I have to be careful actually. But here we can add some color, and don't add it everywhere. Think about it where you see the darks and where you see the light, so you don't cover like the lightest parts. And I'm grabbing more water because I don't have enough water with this paint. This is the indigo here. So I'm coming back to this area just to add a little more color. This is different a little bit than when we normally paint like animals because we wouldn't have the eye so enlarged. It's a little different. So we see more details. This is the part that's highlighted there. So I'm just going to clean the brush now. Hi everyone, so the layer has dried. What I'm gonna do is I'm going to re-wet the entire iris. So I have this round 4 Casanel brush. It's a softer brush, so I'm just going to re-wet it all the way. Okay, so now, actually I guess I could use this brush. I'm going to grab a Van Dyke brown. This is a drier Van Dyke brown, so I'm going to quickly dilute it with water here. And I'm going to start adding it towards the edges. Why am I not diluting it? As long as my brush is wet, that's all I need. It's kind of like a cream top like ratio between water and paint. But because I don't really need the paint to be that diluted with water. I just want to shade it. So I'm grabbing again that cream top and I'm diluting color as I go. And just for the edge here, again, this is just a cream top and I didn't pre-dilute the color with water. And I'm starting to shade this eye. There's my cream top of that Van Dyke brown. If you're not familiar with the ratios I use this terminology. I made it up. It's based on dairy. And it started with water-like ratio, milk-like ratio, half and heavy cream. But then I recently added cream top to this because it makes no sense to say heavy cream when I'm actually using almost like drier paint. So we're shading the eye with that cream top and it becomes more like a heavy cream the more I dilute it with water. And here we just have these darks. Might as well just add the darks on top. And we definitely have this Van Dyke brown, but I'm going to grab some raw sienna as well. And you can go through the pupil because we're not painting the pupil yet. Why is that? It doesn't matter, like, because the pupil is so dark, it's black. So we can just go through it and not worry about it at all. So now I'm going to grab the indigo here. I have indigo. And there's my Van Dyke brown. This is still without adding water directly to the paint. And more of the indigo. This is like a really darker area right here. And I'm adding these darks here. All the way here. Same thing here, just a darker tone. And this is the Van Dyke brown and a little bit of indigo. And this is the cream top. I'm just diluting color with water as I'm talking here. And now I have this paint, which is cream top. And I want the paint to bleed towards the right side. So it's like it's bleeding, right? And I want that color there. And I can add a little bit of it over the edge here too. Some of this undiluted color. So my brush is wet. I'm just grabbing this manganese blue nova here. There's a little bit of the phthalo blue too. And just kind of like dabbing on the paper, and then I can paint some of these lines too. So this is our second layer. And just kind of like dabbing on it. We don't need to add the color everywhere. I just grabbed some of the cobalt blue too, just to have a different color. It's kind of like spots. You're just dropping spots. I'm going to grab more of the phthalo blue red shade. And here I'm adding it too. This is all drying fast. It looks like the eyes usually take me a few layers. It's not like a quick thing. Maybe grab this indigo with the Van Dyke brown, because this is still wet, but I need more water with the paint. So I'm diluting the Van Dyke brown with water, grabbing some of the indigo, and just to add some couple strokes of the darks here. But I'm gonna have to re-wet it, so I don't need to add too much paint so it doesn't become too dark. Hi everyone, welcome back. I let this to dry overnight and I'm coming back to this at the next morning basically, and I can see like clearly what I have to do to make this painting look more realistic and to tackle like some of the areas like underneath the where we have like the fur, the darker fur. It's kind of like lashes area, and I'm gonna grab some of the quinacridone red. So I have this quinacridone red here a little bit, and then I have this indigo. So indigo quinacridone red, and I'm going to create the line just like we see in the reference. This is milk-like ratio between water and paint. It looks quite dark, but I wanted to have a little bit of quin red in there. It might seem darker just because it's wet. The area is wet and it's dark. Well, darker color, but that's why it just feels like thicker, maybe I should say. But it's not, it's still just milk-like ratio. And then here, I'm getting closer. This is where the highlight is, right here. So it's kind of like, goes like this. I guess I should have a line here. And something like this. So that's where that bluish highlight is. And so I don't have really that blue in there yet. So I'm gonna work on that. And then I'm just going to add that color that I already have on my brush. I'm gonna clean this brush and grab just some of that Van Dyke, or indigo, I'm sorry, indigo. Just add it inside of it. And then add more water to that middle section. I just want water inside. Water, just to water it. And the middle section here is the darkest, so that's where I'm gonna add color. So this is between heavy cream and the cream top, so heavier paint that goes in here. So I'm gonna wet this. I guess I'm gonna wet a little more of that eye. I'm gonna go over the eyeball just so I have a chance to darken these parts. Earlier mix I was using actually for the fur, for the darkest spots, and then some indigo quin red. There's more of the Van Dyke brown. As you see, I'm just scooping the paint and I'm just gonna add it right on top here. But I need more of that indigo and quin red. It feels dark, but it needs that darkness here, that shadow. And let's see, like that. Now I'm just hoping I used enough masking fluid for those areas. So even more color. Don't be afraid to use color. And I'm just gonna make this a little darker. So this is where I have that shadow. And I could use a little bit of blue right in here since I'm using the colors there anyway. And then I went over here, so just with a damp brush, I'm kind of cleaning this part. However, this part does have that darker color there anyway. So just a damp brush, very gently going over this. And it would be nice really to have a little more blue. So more blue. What I'm going to do is grab these colors. So this is the indigo with Van Dyke brown and some quin red. It's like a mix-up, right? I want this to be darker mix. I'm going to grab this indigo from here, move it over here. I have like maybe a little bit of quin red there, but I'm going to start with this. This is more like a milk-like ratio between water and paint. As a matter of fact, I probably should actually have a smaller brush, but let's see. this is the pupil area, right? So I'm starting with that milk-like ratio. And when you do this, when you paint the pupil, really try to focus so you don't go over like lines, well, the sketch lines. And the top is not really visible of the pupil when you take a look at the reference, like you can't really see, but if it's rounded on the bottom, then it's a circle for sure. So you just have to finish it, the circle, to make it rounded. And all this is really actually dark, so you can't really see much here. So we can always add another layer, or just keep it light like this too, because this will not be as dark once it dries. Right now, all I can do is more paint maybe in the middle and then walk away from it, let it dry. So I'm just adding a little more color since this is still wet, just to make it a little darker. This is a damp brush, and I'm just going to soften this edge. It has to be a damp brush, so you just don't want to have too much water there. Just wipe your brush well on a towel, and then once you go around it, you kind of soften that pupil, the edges of the pupil, and it looks like it belongs more. And technically, actually, the eye needs to be, the top part needs to be way darker. So that's it. That's all I wanted to show. So thank you so much for your time. And please, again, let me know if you have any questions. When I see that the highlight has some color in it, and in this case it's like a blue violet, so follow blue with some quint red, that's when I know, okay, this is going to have that undertone layer. And so when you look at the highlight, this part is kind of really like white almost, and then you have the blue.